welcome to another edition of the Digital Embellishment Show. We are so happy to have a really special guest with us today. We have David Baird from Truly Engaging. He's the president. And David, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great. So listen, I've heard a lot about what you guys are doing. I've gone on your website. I've spent some time. You guys really do a lot of phenomenal work in the invitation side. Really quickly, David, tell me a little bit about your company, which is Truly Engaging.
So Truly Engaging, we were better known as Magnet Street up until a few years ago, and really specifically a year we went through a major rebrand. But we started the magnet business, at least 25 years ago. And we were making schedule magnets and all kinds of longer run magnets. And then we kind of figured out how to do real short run magnets. So for real estate, which was exploding, right, in the late 80s, we kind of rode that wave, and we sold direct before there was a thing called the internet, direct mail, all kind. It just seems ludicrous now that you can run that business that way. But yeah, we sold magnets to realtors, to sports teams, to colleges and whatnot, and then lo and behold, right as the digital print revolution, these things called an Indigo was around and an IGN, because we have no history before that, before digital printing. But that came along right as about we were ready to start getting, instead of outsourcing the print work, taking that in house. And so all of a sudden we could do short runs and all these things. And the internet came along, and lo and behold, we hired an SEO, which seems funny. We didn't even know what an SEO was. I sure didn't. But I'll tell you how old I am. That's not good. He came to me on a Friday. I'll never forget it. And he's like, "Hey, what's a save the date?" And I'm like, "You got me. I have no idea." He goes, "Well, there's tons of people searching on the web for this thing called save the date magnets." And I'm like, "Wow, that's cool. I have no idea what that was." He goes, "Yeah, it's for weddings." So I literally went home, stopped at a Walgreens on my way home. I have 4 little kids at the time. I picked up 3 bride magazines, right? And I took them home, and I spent the weekend scouring. And my family thought, "Oh gosh, Dad has literally lost his marbles. He's sitting around looking at bride magazines, like what?" But yeah, and then I saw ads for bride magazines and all those kind of things, and it was just crazy. So literally within 4, 5, 6 months, we launched Magnet Street Weddings, and literally exploded. Absolutely exploded. We did, I think, 70,000 weddings our first year. Like, it was really that crazy, right? And so the wedding division began. We started a blog a few years later called Truly Engaging. And, so of course we went from save the date magnets to invitations and programs, the whole wedding print suite. And then we really went full circle all in on Truly Engaging about a year ago now. And so
Wow.
We switched the URL. We did all the dirty behind the scenes work, which was very painful. I'm glad it's behind us.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, so excited we're at where we are today. But that's really how we got here. Yeah.
Well, great. It seems like you guys really have a good handle on the business, and you really are giving some of the really big players a good run for your money. And I love to see that competitiveness. Now, let's talk about competitiveness. You guys invested, I believe, in a Scodex to bring digital embellishments to the forefront.
Yeah.
Were you doing embellishments before, or was that kind of like the first time that you decided to get into embellishments? Walk us through, embellishment at Magnet Street Truly Engaging.
So years are going to be a little fuzzy because COVID, right? You got this COVID fog, but this is pre-COVID, and we still sell an enormous amount of magnets, right? And we're just looking to constantly improve on the process. What else can make it interesting? And we started seeing some of this digital embellishment and specifically foil, and we're like, well, brides like foil, right? They like it on all kinds of things. So I was telling someone this the other day. We kind of faked it. We were doing a poor man's sleeking just to kind of prove that there's an appetite for it, and they're willing to pay for it, and it could kind of set us apart, right? And so that's what we did, and we faked it, and it was painful because we didn't have all the right. Had a great relationship with Scodex. It met a lot of our web to print kind of requirements, but yeah, we absolutely foil and varnish, and doing it in short run has been, I'd be lying. It's been a game changer for us. It has really we have never looked back.
Well, I love your story because your story is you guys did it the right way, and by the right way, there's no right or wrong way, but in my opinion, you guys tested it out with what we would call an MVP, right? What is the minimum viable product that I could bring to market to test to see if there's an appetite? And I know those sleeking jobs must have been very difficult, especially when you started getting scale, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you have to ask yourself, when do I scale? How do I scale? It's all about scalability when it comes, especially to a business like yourself. So making that first initial test, getting people's reaction, gauging whether or not there's hunger to go further, I think is really good. And I think that's the way most people should be doing it. If you're going to buy a machine like this, make sure that you have the market for it, because I think most people will agree, if you build it, they will not come. You have to market it well. So tell me, how did you market it to your clients? Because this is a tricky question, because I've been taking pictures of digital embellishment for years, and it's so hard to be able to visualize what foil will look like or the dimensional varnish will look like via photo. So tell me about your marketing. How did you get the word out there that you guys were doing this, and how did that increase in 18 months to a second machine?
Well, samples is a big part of, so we've got our wedding side of our business, but we also have our college and university side. We've got our still, our sports schedule side. I don't know if you can see that. So there's a lot of we have a lot of verticals that we go. And so they were all treated a little bit differently. But on the wedding side, we're sending out, literally tens of thousands of samples a month. And so, kind of what sets truly gauging apart, or what initially we really did, was you can order one, right? You can personalize one sample, with all your, your name, all your details, and you get the, a few days later, you get it in the mail, you get to hold it in your hand, you get to see the paper. So that's, for us, that's the big challenge, right? We're a web online e-commerce company, so getting brides to trust that, right? So we do a ton of sampling, and then word of mouth really took it from there. So sampling initially was massive, but if we send a bride a sample with no foil on it and then with foil on it, we win, right? With foil,
Yeah,
because
that's the winner right there.
once you see it and feel it, it's like you can't look away. And that's on our college and university side. Let's see if I know I had some, like, here's Marshall. So I mean, this doesn't have foil, this is just varnish, but you can see what it does to the logos, to the magnet on the back. Like, in our college market, we'll send one of each. And like, we're not going to decide, you decide. Well, 99 times out of 100, if the budget's there, foil wins, varnish wins. So sampling for us has been really, really big.
There's nothing in the world that can replace having that in your hands. And what does everybody do when you give them a sample? What's the first thing that
Oh,
you see them do with their thumbs up?
oh my gosh, you're touching it, you're feeling it, you're looking at it, you're kind of like, well, what is that? Especially something they've never really seen like that before. And yeah, yeah. So it's, yeah.
Yep, the tactile nature of what we do and getting samples in people's hands is absolutely, I think, a very, very genius move. And this is a conversation that we have with a lot of people. And it seems that the ones who have high success rates have a higher percentage of their pages based on self promotion. So there is no substitute for getting actual pieces in people's hands. And that's been kind of shown through all the studies that we've been doing, a lot of the conversations we've been having. The more that you can create these sample packs, the more you can get these products in people's hands, the easier it is to rationalize spending more money for a piece that looks so much better, because the what is it, the mind justifies what the heart wants in a certain way. So yeah, we've seen a lot of that. Tell me about your actual, like, when you're selling jobs, is it all online, or do you actually have salespeople
Yeah.
who go out there to talk to these
Yeah.
universities or to these brides? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So specifically our college and university market, it's, I mean, obviously they can see the product online and whatnot, but that is really a more one-to-one sale. But it's not us going out to the University of Michigan and physically calling on them. Those are big places. And once we get our, like, here, it just so happens, look at that. So here's a Michigan piece, and I was also going to point. I don't know if you can tell the nature there, but that's actually a sticker. Oh, there you go. Right. I got a great story about this product. This is my one of my favorite. Am I allowed to talk about Scodex in particular, or do I just want me to keep it generic? But so Jason Rollo, the president of Scodex, was at our plant a couple months after we did our first install, and we were doing a labeled sticker job that was going inside a mailing for a university. I think it was Quinnipiac. So if you're a hockey fan, Quinnipiac's playing this weekend, right? So Quinnipiac did these big, huge, B2 sheets of labels, and we're doing all this cool cut. And Jason just happened to be there doing his own whatever. And I looked at him. I'm like, can we varnish this stock? This label stock. And he goes, I don't know. He goes, let's try. And I'm like, oh yeah, like we'll get in trouble, but let's try. And so we literally quickly set up the masking file in varnish, and it was awesome, right? And so I took it to my brother, who happens to be sell into that market, and I'm like, I showed him, look at your label here, the traditional way, and now look at it with varnish. It was awesome, right? And so I don't think we hardly sell a sticker anymore without varnish. It just makes, I'm not doing a good job. It just makes it pop, right? And it's just amazing. Yeah, it's unbelievable what even that, sometimes it's the texture, some whatever, but that is really, so whether we're doing magnets or we're doing stickers for universities, we're varnishing it. I want to say at least 8 times out of 10 now.
Oh, really? So you would say like 80% of your production
Oh,
is now embellished?
I could be talking stupid here, but it's very, very high because
That's beautiful, my
I
friend.
know we love it. I told you that's why we have two.
Oh, okay. So listen, I'm going to ask you a theoretical question. If you had to choose
Mhm.
between the foil or the embossed varnish, which one do you go with?
Okay, so I'll give you different answers for different markets. So foil, foil for sure in our wedding market, right? Our consumer market, foil for sure, no question. But for things like this penguin, I don't know how well you can see. This is soft touch magnet, right? It's a magnet, but it's soft touch. But then all the months and the schedule are all varnish. I don't know if I can show you. It's there. So we love it on sports, universities, and commercial. We like the varnish because it makes I don't have to match a logo. Like I couldn't get the maize yellow, right? Michigan. I couldn't do that. Foil, right? You'd have to have 1,000 foil rings. But we put a nice clear varnish on their logo, and it's awesome, right? And so we have gone way away from foil in the college, university, or commercial market, and much more use varnish.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's great, and that's absolutely a great answer. I think that depending on the market, they like different things, right? The invitation market is very much
right.
foil oriented,
Yeah.
and obviously the varnish allows you to do different things. Tell me, is there any up and coming markets that you see? Like, what's hot? Like, is there any new stuff, new markets that are kind of getting into the embellishment game? Because we're seeing a lot of like games, we're starting to see video games, we're starting to
Right.
see card games, we're starting to see some of that. What are you seeing out there of like some of the new markets that are kind of emerging from a vertical standpoint?
Yeah, well, I may not be the best for that because, we've got our tried and true verticals, and then so for us, like we'll pick up some PSP relationships because of our expertise now in our foil and our varnish. And so like I've got, this is automobiles that are we're seeing crossover. So this is our cool pocket wedding invitation, but now we're seeing crossover into commercial accounts. So this Ford dealership's like, whoa. So here it's a magnet. Here is the giveaway, but there's varnish on this. There's foil on this piece. So they're getting a little bit of everything. But so we see crossover when we've got an awesome product for the brides. It's like, well, wait a second. Well, where else? Universities, they have galas all the time that invite fundraise. So we're crossing over kind of that way. We don't have, I would say our PSPs drive us into new verticals, or new areas.
Sure, sure. So David, I think one of the things also that's very successful for you, and I might be wrong, but correct me, is the biggest puzzle for me is I don't understand people who are getting a lot of these equipment and are not taking advantage of the variable data aspect of what digital embellishment can do.
Hmm.
And in my opinion, I say this a lot, it's like buying a Ferrari, but only taking it to the grocery stores on Sunday and never taking it to the track. Do you guys really push a lot of the variable data foil? Is that a part that's
Yeah, that's why Ace in the Hole. We love variable. Yeah, we do it every day. Yeah, so we are big, and I would say that, we've really, not only did we get the machines, which are obviously very important, but it's really the technology that drives the machines and how, you know, yeah, the software, that whether it's web to print or whatever, that's really important, especially the way we kind of either do our PSP or our own business. But yes, we absolutely, and I have a new project coming out in 3 months, that our boxes for our brides, which are just, to me personally, we want to own. The bride opens her box of save the dates or invitations. I mean, that to me is the moment, right? Married, somebody's marrying me, right? And I can't wait to tell people that moment of opening the box. And that's why, on TikTok, everything's exploded, because that we have we have valued that moment more than anything. And so now we've got new boxes with a sleeve, and we're going to customize the sleeve, so I can soft touch the sleeve. I can put their names on it. I can put their wedding date in foil. Like, it's going to be everything. So that's every single day, variable print on boxes, on cards, on magnets. It happens all
Oh,
the
very cool. Well, oh, I like what I'm hearing because you, number one, you did an MVP before going to market. You made sure the market was there. You educated your market correctly. You invested in the right equipment. You brought the samples to market to get in people's hands. And you focused on your core audience and you focused and tailored your messaging to who you knew your customers were, who you knew what they were emotionally going through at the time, and you knew exactly what you had to do and how to do it to be able to capture that moment so that I'm sorry.
time.
When somebody asks them, "Who did you do?"
Yeah,
or "Who do you recommend? I'm getting married. Who should I
yeah,
use?" That they point them back at
yeah,
you, and so that word of mouth
yeah,
really seems to be something that just, I mean, successful companies understand that and understand the journey that the client goes
yeah,
through. It sounds like that's something that you guys have really done.
yeah.
So, if you had one piece of advice
Hmm.
for anybody thinking about getting into digital embellishment, what would it be?
One piece of advice. Well, I think you touched on it, is really having a couple verticals, because believe me, we went and visited a lot of companies that had these. A lot of them weren't running, and they kind of had to run sample. I think having a good idea of how you're going to use, you kind of that hump, and once you do, I think the opportunities really, we never thought we'd be selling varnish to college and university. Like, that wasn't that when we bought these, it was all about putting foil on invitations, right, or even magnets for that matter. And so all the places we've then taken it to, because if we send out samples, we'll work with a university client or any commercial client, and if we happen to show goes, A, they know someone getting married, or B, it's like, oh my gosh, we could do this over here. So it's taken us a lot of places we never had any intention of going, but when people really see it, and the power of it, it's like when I go shopping with my wife, very rarely, but when I do at a mall and we walk through Macy's or whatever, I'm just walking through, right? I want to get to the next place. She's touching and feeling every single thing as we weave through. Like, why do you have to just, oh, that's their nature. I think it's human nature for sure, but and it's no different with print, right? You want to experience it that way. So for us, we're just lucky that that's a big part of our customer base.
Sure. And we're lucky to have such a great guest onto the show today. David, thank you so much for your wisdom and kind of sharing your story.
Yeah.
If people want to order from you, it's trulyengaging.com. Is there anything else that you want to tell anybody who might be interested in
Yep.
working with you or anything like that you want to get out?
Yeah, for sure. On the print side, if you're contemplating it, if you're trying to figure out where it fits, just go look me up on LinkedIn or whatever. Yeah, I'm a top salesman. Jason Rollo won't admit it, but I want my goal is to be a top salesman for Scodex or really MJ. Like I'm not that impartial, but I just see what it's done to our business, and it honestly it's kind of fun. It brings it all to life. So.
Absolutely. Well, keep on evangelizing, my friend. I really appreciate it. And we thank you very much for your time, and we will see you soon.
Okay. All right. Sounds so much. Thank you, Kevin.